कस्तो आयो होला एकदम डिस्टर्ब हुन्छ भोइस ठिकै आयो होला ओके सर द डेडलाइन फर सबमिटिङ कम्प्लेन्ट इज एन्डिङ अन 16 June. Do you think I think government is trying to extension the registration time. Do you think after the registration extension of next 1 month or 2 months, victim can get justice through this process?
We have already submitted our memorandum to the both commissions, TRC and the Disappeared Commission, and also we have requested both commission to extend the deadline because there are thousands of victims still left behind the process. And still they don't know the information, what will happen about the process and about their complaints and other things. So I think the Disappeared Commission already extended their deadline for another month, and TRC is preparing to extend today for 1 month. I'm very much sure that both the commission will be, open up the deadline for longer.
Yeah.
And also throughout this process, and we have a very little hope and expectation with the commission that they will deliver the justice. And our, only, expectation from this commission are, if they really work for the victim, they can establish some truth, and also they can prepare and recommend the reparation policies to the government.
Why do you believe that? Why do you feel that this process cannot provide justice to victim?
Because it's a politically controlled process and very state-centric and perpetrator-led. There are, in the Nepal context, in the post-conflict context, there are many powerful people, both in bureaucracy and security forces and in the political parties. They are still there. They still serve the state forces and also the political parties. So they all are there, and there is no vetting process. There is no responsibility and accountability issues that state has established. So in this context, in a very perpetrator-led process, so we have a fear and threats every day that they cannot deliver justice, and they have not prepared the very suitable environment for the victims, where victims can freely and openly go and register the cases and have expectation of the commission.
Do you think transitional justice process is in Nepal is victim friendly or not?
I don't think so, because the state never have prepared for this environment. We victims, actually from both sides of victims, from Maoist rebellions and the state victims, we have come together and then we have been fighting together. And it's a very, from individual suffering to collective activism, we have practiced our own healing and reconciliation approach, and then we have been supporting the process. But the state never realized this, and they have never asked, what are the victims' priorities and needs in the process. So they have completely, neglected the victims' participation in the whole process, and then there is no representation and ownership for the victims. So in this process, and then we have a very little trust with the this commission mechanism and the state and approaches that they are just adopting the exclusionary approach in the whole process.
In your opinion, what should be done to make transitional justice process more victim friendly?
First they have to ask victims, what are their needs and priorities. And in most of the time, the state and the political parties, they have thought and discussed through the very narrow legal lens of the transitional justice process, and at the same time they have forgot about the social, economic and cultural aspects of the transitional justice, and most importantly the psychosocial aspects. There are many victims, they are excluded from the process. They are poor from the rural villages. They have no access to health, education and jobs. So there are many problems, and also at the same time there is a fear and threats are there, because the perpetrators, both from political sides and the security forces, they are threatening the process. They are derailing the process. Even they are not only controlling the process, but they are destroying the evidences and weakening the process. So in this context, I would not say that this is very victim-centric, but for the victims, they have to be responsible, they have to be accountable, and so we are raising the question of transparency of the commission. This is not transparent at all, and we are raising the question of accountability. They are not accountable to the victims. We are raising question of participation. There is no, complete participation or meaningful participation of the victims. There is no representation, and so we haven't felt the ownership with this process. This is victim centric, and this is for the victims.
How can it be brought to make a logical conclusion?
For the logical conclusion, they have to develop a partnership with the victims, and they have to take confident, for the victims' right, and also the state should ensure the victims' right to truth, justice, and reparation. The state and the political parties, they have not understood this all. Right to know the truth, getting justice, and also the reparation. These are not the rights. They are. In the recent regulations of the act. Regulation of the commission, they have removed the word reparation as a right, and they have used the word facilities and the concession. So that's why even the state is not interested on the reparation policies, and so this is not victim centric from that perspective also.
You already said that another serious issue. Do you think victims are suffering and victims are threatening when they are coming to register their case? Do you think so?
Yes, there is a lot of fear and threats in the field. That we have just completed the monitoring of the commission process and the compliance registration process throughout the country. We have covered almost 48 districts from the 5 geographical regions, and we are closely monitoring in dozens of districts. And we have found that victims are not safe. They are not feeling comfortable to register their compliance in the local peace committees, and also many victims, they have received threats directly and indirectly, and also there is no such very safe or confidential environment in the local peace committees. And so the LPCs, there are many critics, but most importantly, the local peace committees are fully controlled by the political heads in the district, and the security forces, both police and Nepal Army, they are closely monitoring and observing the victims. And from both sides, and so from this context, there is no free environment that victims can freely go and register the compliance. So there is a very little hope for them. But even in this very difficult situation, victims are registering the compliance for the official record, and to establish the truth, and also to recognize the history. Acknowledgement is the very priority issue for every victim. That so they want to be acknowledged by the state.
Do you have any things to add about the TRC process?
I'm still optimistic that if Commission really, want to be victim-centric, they can contribute some way historically. They can establish truth, and they can develop partnership with the victim groups, victims' common platform, and they can develop comprehensive reparation policies for the victims' social economic benefits. So that way they can benefit. But this commission cannot address the pain, suffering, and everyday problems of the victims. There are a lot of problems, and another context I would like to put here with you is there are a lot of alleged perpetrators sit in power, still serve in the high level of politics, high level of bureaucracy, Nepal Army and Nepal Police. For example, my father's perpetrators, who was directly responsible to arrest my father, torture my father, and disappear later. He is the chief of the police of the Lalitpur police. He is the valley chief. So in this context, how can you imagine that? So I feel that sometimes, we are dying every day, and then there are threats in every state. They are there, and then they have the machineries, and then they have the power. So they are abusing power, and they are controlling the process. They are threatening the victims, and there is a serious security threats. And with the commission, there is no victims and witness protection policy. So commission should, form these protection policies. And also in the amendment process now, the political parties and state intervening in the process. They have to, amend the, faulty act, in accordance with the Supreme Court body. The Supreme Court of Nepal has clearly directed to the government of Nepal that the disappearance should be criminalized, torture should be criminalized, rape should be considered as a serious violations, and perpetrators should be tried. And these are the basic standards, and also the Nepali standards. So also as a state party of the United Nations, Nepal has an obligatory, obligation to also follow the international standards.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.